You've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've reflected on the journals, but why do you still feel like the same person? It's because learning about growth is not the same as actually growing. Today on our episode, we are starting a new series on the 10 hardest lessons about personal development. We're diving into why healing might actually make you less tolerant of the people around you and why outgrowing a dream hurts more than failing one. We're stripping away the feel-good side of self-help to talk about the messy reality of losing yourself before finding yourself. This is part 1 of the hardest truths humanity needs to face. If you've ever felt like your healing journey is making life harder, point number 3 will explain exactly why. Let's get into it. You can read, learn, and reflect and still avoid change. You can read, learn, reflect, and still avoid change.
It cuts deep, that one, because there's sort of, to learn new things and to be able to do new things, you do need to learn how to do them. So we're not saying don't learn at all. And you can't really take action without knowing. That's got to be said. However, reading and learning, instead of doing the thing and to use as a justification for putting off doing the thing, is a terrible idea. Because most people, in my opinion, learn by doing. I don't think most people learn by just reading or watching. I feel like actually implementing things is the number one way to learn because it's hands-on experience. It's far more visceral than conceptually, theoretically, hypothetically learning and then applying. It doesn't work in quite the same way. So reading something over and over and over, and then the thing is, it's the old thing of the more you know, the more you realise you don't know.
Yeah.
So then you're perpetuated in this cycle of, oh, well, if I couldn't start before because I didn't know anything, now I'm aware of how much more there is to know, and I don't know that at all. Therefore, I really can't start because I need to know X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like, you know.
Yeah, I suppose people treat personal development almost like an intellectual comfort. So rather than trying to actually implement change, which is uncomfortable, gross, messy, uncomfortable, I suppose is the key word, they use it as a comfort to tell themselves that change is happening. So if you can read the books, you can intellectualize what it actually sounds like to change. You can avoid actually doing the hard work because you're just maybe satisfying the intellectual need. But it's almost like, have you heard the term personal development junkie?
Maybe.
Someone got coined as the new personal development wave struck over. So personal development junkie is someone that's deeply passionate about self-improvement. So they'll consume the books, the podcasts, go to seminars to listen about areas sort of mindset, growth, habits, whatever, it might be. But they can get stuck in the consumption phase rather than practice phase. So they aim for the growth, whether that's mental, again, physical, emotional, whatever it might be, but they don't actually make the change to make themselves a better person. It's almost like they've got analysis paralysis,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that personal development phase of just learning. Why do we think people get stuck in the learning about personal development?
Because I think you probably get the same dopamine response as actually doing it. Like you can, and also so you get hit twice. So you get the dopamine thing that's self-fulfilled of you actually learning the thing. You then get the dopamine response from you telling other people, oh, I'm going to a seminar on self-development, and everyone else is like, oh yeah, well done, you're going to this, you must be really improving yourself. And you're like, oh yeah, I am, I'm going to these things. And the thing is, it's easy to mask what doing the thing is, because if you are physically going to a seminar, you are actually doing something. You are actually going there. You've taken it from just behind a book or whatever. So now you can persuade yourself you're doing the thing, when really, what has fundamentally changed in your life? Nothing, because you've made no changes.
What I'm curious of there, I think you're right. I definitely want to circle back to those sort of barriers that people put in, or rather tell themselves. But I'm really curious of the outside influence on personal development, because you've touched on it. I think that's definitely valid, that by telling people you're going to do these things, you're probably going to get the dopamine response, or people rewarding you for telling them you're doing it. Whereas, I don't know about you, but my personal experience on personal development has always been very personal. I'm not going to tell you that I've gone to therapy every week and the work that it requires to show up every week for that. You need to almost be a little bit protective of your personal development. You can definitely let people in. There can be such a positive thing to be said for outside influences, but if it's just the sake of sharing for wanting to get the praise, it's only going to have a negative impact on self-development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole reason for doing self-development is so that you fundamentally feel more self-acceptance. So trying to get that dopamine rush from somebody else automatically contradicts the sole purpose for you doing it.
It's an internal battle, isn't it? Like you say, so to bring someone into that development or allow them a leading role almost is only more damaging because you're then taking more of a passive role. Yeah, you definitely need to take more ownership of those sort of environments for sure. So you can read, learn, reflect, and still avoid change. So again, why do people avoid change? Because it feels uncomfortable.
It's doing something different to your status quo. Like if you always used to get up, go to the McDonald's drive-through, come back home, eat it, maybe go and do some work for a bit, then go to a different fast food chain, eat some lunch, and then sit and be in the scroll hole, as you call it, or doom scrolling for the rest of the internet. I'm sure it's actually a term. I don't know why. I just haven't heard of it. And that's just your daily routine. And then probably order in a Domino's for saying other pizzas are available. You just do that, and that's your routine. So for you to change that, like, okay, I'm going to change one thing because I'm going to approach it sensibly. I'm going to just change my breakfast. Well, that's an active change when you're probably least motivated. Well, I don't know if you're least motivated at the start of the day, but when I first wake up, I'm really groggy. I don't really want to think about, I'm making a positive change in my life. I want to think about, I've just got to drag myself out of bed at this point. Like, I don't want to think, I'm so excited to go and have my oatmeal. It's compared to McDonald's drive-through. Like, obviously, it's going to be tastier. It's made by somebody else. You don't have that. All you've got to do is a bit of drive-in. Food is brought to you after a 4-minute wait or something.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, so avoiding change is inherently uncomfortable. It's also safer as well. So understanding your patterns, so learning, reading, going to the seminars, reflecting on your patterns is a lot safer than trying to drive a wedge between them. Like whether it's perceived danger or not, whether it's actual danger or not, like you said, keeping in that routine, it breeds comfort. It breeds predictability. But that doesn't breed growth. And in that sort of predictability, that comfort, you can have all the space in the world for reading the books or doing the daily well, I suppose actually doing meditation is probably more, but actually making positive change, whether it's improving your diet, starting a business, going to the gym, starting a hobby, doing online learning courses to become better in your chosen field, that's change, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it requires an actual change from the status quo. Yeah. So avoiding change, I suppose, is the first place people need to start. And I suppose it's asking, why am I avoiding the change? What is it about the change that's inherently uncomfortable? Does it mean that it would throw relationships into question? Does it mean it would throw your career into question? Does it mean it would throw your life choices up until this point into question? It could be as small as the way you dress.
Yeah.
Or it could be as big as you've made some interesting life choices and now you're in a dead-end job where you're feeling a severe lack of inspiration.
Yeah. I think another reason people might not change, it's just come to me. I've drawn a link between something Alex Hormozy said and this thing. So Alex Hormozy said there's two different types of content. And he was doing it in the context of if you're making an information product, like selling a course. People are like, I don't want to give away all the secrets for free to promote it, but they're the high value things that then would, actually sell, and that's what I want to sell. That's the value. And he said there's two different types. And there's content which is promoting the dream, and then there's content which is selling the actual step-by-steps. Most of the time, people consume promoting the dream style content, which is, here's how to make $1 million, and oh look, you can get these nice flashy cars, and this guy set up a business, and he first started off with one restaurant, built that up, got the staff, and then went to 2 restaurants. Then he opened it up as a franchise, got a percentage of loads of them. Now there's 100 across the country, and he's worth X millions of dollars. That's not told you how to do it. It's surface level told you, because you know you start with 1 restaurant and then you go to 2, but you probably could have worked that out for yourself. The actual how to do it would be in the course, which would be, first of all, you need to work and fully get yourself legislated and all of that stuff, get yourself insured and set up get the premises. Here's how you find the premises. Here's how the EPOS system you must use, and here's the hiring process and how you should prioritize who you hire at this time, what sort of equipment you will need. Here's an equipment list. It's like, that's the actual you learning how to do it. But I feel like most people, getting back to the point of, delaying change, is they've consumed so much of this promotional dream that they've never actually learned how to implement change. They've just learned what other people have done and achieved, very surface level, but they've heard lots of those stories. So they're most motivated, but have no idea actually how to do it. So consuming some step-by-step, tangible, actionable step type information would be useful to you at that point.
Why do we think people automatically choose, or not automatically, but prefer to choose to consume the dream content?
I think because that's where you want to be, and therefore, who am I going to listen to? The person who's telling me that the first thing I should do is tidy my room, or the person that's talking about all the things I want and desire? Like, you're automatically going to be drawn to the sexy stuff. The unsexy stuff of the process of, first you need to tidy your room. Then, once you've got 1 room in order, you need to tidy the rest of your flat. Then after you tidied your flat, you need to actually, set up some sort of website that people can purchase, and go through the steps. Like, that is stepwise and essentially very easy to do each one of those steps, and breaking it down that granular is actually how you get there. But when you break down, like, you imagine talking about, franchised out but 100 restaurants, where you are, when you break it down step by step like that is far away. But when you can just go straight to hearing the story about the person that did it, you feel like you're already closer to it.
Yeah, you can almost assimilate yourself on top of it rather than understanding the growth that gets to it. And people don't want to see how far behind they are. If they can see the gap between where they could be but actually where they are, that feels very scary. Reminds me of the quote, which is like, pure hell is when the person you could have been meets the person you are. And I know we've both said we use that as inspiration on a daily, because I could not imagine a worse reality of meeting someone that has everything you've said you've wanted and has only got it because they actually worked to achieve it. That must be so demoralizing. But you said it in your monologue there, which is personal change. Was what it was. Personal change is not sexy.
No.
It's not. The process of change, whether it's personal, relational, working towards a better life, however that might seem, process is difficult, it's uncomfortable, it involves vulnerability and hard work. Those are not traits we deem to be sexy, ironically, because I don't know about you, if I was looking for a partner and some of their traits were they were happy to have difficult conversations, they're strong and rigid because they've been through uncomfortable times, they're happy being vulnerable with me, they do not shy away from hard work, I'd be like, sign me up, that's the person I want to be with, because they can go through hard times. But yeah, personal change is not sexy because it requires the depart from the comfort zone, the normality. It requires you breaking repetition, and repetition breeds comfort. And again, back in the comfort zone, but repetition breeds safety. If you know that next day is going to be the same as today, which was the same as yesterday, you'll likely feel quite safe. You'll likely not feel the need to change.
Yep. Humans love routine.
We do. We fear uncertainty as well. So the process of moving into the unknown, which can bring a risk of failure or things going wrong, the uncertainty causes anxiety. And people tend to try and avoid anxiety. You know, there's a study done that suggested people that actually introduce a little bit of manageable anxiety into their life tend to live longer
I
than
believe
those
it.
that don't have any anxiety.
Yeah.
Because a little bit of anxiety, one, keeps you safe because you're aware of the outside circumstances. You're not super relaxed, but it also allows you to use it in a positive light.
Absolutely. One of the things I noticed when I stopped being an accountant and was intensely focused on doing nothing, I missed the stress. I liked having a little bit of something because it keeps you on the edge. It keeps you ready to go. As soon as you take a step away from that, and because everyone thinks, oh, it'd be so nice to not be stressed. You're like, yeah, but the next step after utter no stress is death.
Yeah.
Like, you literally feel like you're one step closer to death when you're not stressed. It's mental because there's nothing.
It ages you probably as well. I know stress can age you. Extreme stress, we're not talking about, extreme stress where...
I've got 2 grey beard hairs.
Do you?
From my work as an accountant, and my hairline is receding, but that's from my current relationship.
She's just shaving it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting how the brain is sort of hardwired for familiarity and avoids anxiety. But I suppose that's because the brain wants to probably conserve energy and prefers established routines and predictability rather than change. Because change, even positive, disrupts these comfortable neural pathways that can trigger a threat response, leading to resistance to change from old patterns. Because ultimately, if we know something works, why should we change it?
Yep.
But change is messy. And then I think that's another reason people shy away from it. I think a big reason why people think change is messy because it requires an identity shift. And people don't know, they know who they are right now, but they don't know who they are at the other side of that identity shift. It requires letting go of who you have been and redefining a sense of self. Do you think people that have a strong sense of self have more or less of a hard time when it comes to wanting to implement change in their life?
It would depend on what they decided their self was.
Expound on that.
So if I know myself to be, I really struggle to get going. It takes me 3 hours to get going in the morning. I don't switch on until about 11:30. I know I have a lull in energy from about 2 till 4. And then after 5:30, all I can think about is dinner. And then after 8 o'clock, I'm dead to the world. I just need to go to sleep. If that's your self-perception and that's your self-acceptance, then it's going to be very difficult for you to do anything outside the hours of 11:30 till 2.
Absolutely.
I think if your sense of self is, I might not always have the energy, but I have to get up and go. Like, I'm willing to chase something down. If I believe in something, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to step outside that box, and that's how I view myself. If I was to describe myself to an alien, I would say I'm open to new opportunities. I talk to anybody. That person who has accepted that sense of self is going to be far more open to change than the person who's accepted their self, but they think of themselves less than what they are.
Yeah, nice. I would agree with you. I definitely think sense of self is fluid. There's likely people that have such a strong sense of self, they're like, I'm never going to change. I know exactly who I am. But I also think there's people that have such awareness of their sense of self that they realize the more they know who they are, the more they realize they're able to change. Which I suppose comes to whether those people are open to change themselves. Because if you had such a rigid sense of self that you did not want to change, you'd be so closed off from any outside influences. You'd likely fear being wrong. You'd likely fear someone questioning the status quo and probably live quite hard within your comfort zone. And likely only surround yourself to just reaffirm the same beliefs. Yeah. And change is messy as well because it's not linear. And I think that frustrates people. If linear was easy, if change was linear, it would make change easy, and it would also make sort of therapy, not necessarily redundant, but it would make it so much easier. Because, okay, we're here, in 20 weeks we're going to be here. This is your progression chart, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But it's not. Change is not linear. It rarely follows a simple straight line. It's a squiggly journey, a big wibbly wobbly timey wimey thing. Doctor Who.
Squibbly.
Yeah. It starts and stops. That's setbacks, is unexpected twists. So expecting perfection, an immediate metamorphosis into a new sense of self, is going to lead to self-criticism, discouragement, when the process is inevitably chaotic. And I think people fear chaos, and they fear something that they cannot make sense of.
Absolutely. I think it's actually, to put it in the context of all the YouTubers in the audience, change is just like the YouTube algorithm, in terms of like, you'll get one video, like we had a video that did 5 times better than all of our other ones.
Blew up in regards to Beneath the Noise.
Yeah, for no reason. Seemingly, the stats are actually lower than some of the other videos we've had, and that is exactly change. And then everything's returned back to its normal level. So you have little breakthroughs, and then you have a return back, and then you have another breakthrough, and then you have a return back, and you hope that eventually that return back line still gets slightly higher up on the graph until eventually you get to some place where you're more generally happy. But it's a constant journey as well. It's, people love things when there's an end point because they can see the finish line. But self-development, the same as being self-employed, is like being told to run and I'll let you know when to stop.
Yeah. Trying to assume an end point. There might be people that there is an end point. Maybe they want to get over a past trauma. So I'm sure in some regard there are endpoints that definitely come into it. Maybe want to get over a breakup or a loss of a loved one, something to that extent. I'm sure there is some sort of endpoints, but self-development, there isn't, like you say. So it is asking someone to run, but you tell them when to stop. You know, they've just got to run. But sometimes you might run, sometimes you might walk, sometimes you might jog, sometimes you might skip, other times you might crawl. As long as, in my mind, you're still working along that journey, however it might be, slow, fast, you're still moving in the right direction. And like you say, when you look at it in the graph, if you look at it maybe a week at a time, it's going to look messy. And I feel like when you pan out over the course of years, you are going to see somewhat of a trend upwards if you've been doing the messy, not sexy work. That was my last thing that I want to sort of touch on with change not being sexy or being messy is people need to understand willpower is not enough alone.
It will get you started, maybe, but it's not the sustaining force.
Yeah, so motivation will always ebb and flow. So I can't remember the exact lines, but there's inspiration, motivation, and then discipline. So inspiration is you watch something, you read something like, oh, wow, yeah, that's really good, and it sparks an idea. Motivation is something that's going to come and go. You know, you might one day be like, yeah, I can really do this. Other days, like, oh, I'm completely out of it. I'm just not feeling inspired. So motivation is going to be coming and going, but it's the next step from inspiration. After that, you've got discipline. Do you show up week after week and do the non-sexy thing? Again, in terms of gym, because it's always super tangible for me, but learning a new skill, for instance. You might see a video on YouTube of someone shredding on the guitar and you're like, that's awesome. I want to do that. And that's the inspiration. The motivation might come and go. You might pick it up one day and learn for an hour. Might not pick it up for another week. So your motivation is going to ebb and flow. But your progression is going to come from the discipline when you're like, no, I'm going to do 20 minutes every day.
Yep.
Yeah. Willpower isn't enough by itself.
And if you do want a little boost of motivation, there's always a nice thing you can do, which is it only takes 40 hours to get like exponentially good in a certain area. Actually, it might be 20 hours. I've always done 40. But like, for example, when AI came out, like, I don't know if I caught the beginning of it or what in terms of usage, but I knew that there was potential. People were saying it's going to be a big industry changer across all industries, and I didn't know anything about it. So I did 40 hours in my busy schedule of learning, like, and using the tools and seeing what they can do for me and asking it to help me learn what it can do. And after you've done that 40 hours, you've got all the quick growth that you will see from learning a new skill. And suddenly you can have a semi-decent conversation, actually find you're more educated than a lot of the people you talk to, because they haven't done that committed 40 hours. And that doesn't have to be one block of 40 hours where you don't sleep. It can be an hour a day across 40 days. But making that commitment to yourself and learning something new for 40 hours is so, like, that's it. That's all you've got to do. You can do that in a week.
It's just quite a minimal time investment to just get a decent level of understanding on a chosen topic.
And you will have far more understanding on where your weaknesses are and what you need to learn after that 40 hours than you will trying to plan out the full next year of your life from the start.
Yeah, again, it's just you need to start. Sometimes you just need to pick something up and start learning about it. But again, avoiding change is actively making growth. So real growth begins when your explanations end and action becomes inconvenient. So with that, I suppose, how can we get people into growing? As I suppose the different things you can do is rules here. So like a 1-to-1 rule. So if you spend an hour reading or an hour learning, spend an hour practicing or implementing. So again, learning the guitar, spend an hour reading, watching videos, but then spend an hour doing the thing, like actually trying to make tangible growth. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing type mindset where you've decided you're going to change. You're going to go all in and you're just going to implement change in every element of your life. That's probably inherently unsustainable.
Alex Hormozy's got another thing about this. I love Alex
Yeah,
Hormozy. He's so
in.
good.
You do.
But what he does applies to so many more things than just business. This is why I like it, because the fundamental principles, because it's operationalized, literally apply to anything. So I'll take your example of the guitar, for example. If you want to get way better at guitar, saying my goal for the year is to get better at guitar is a terrible goal. Like, how do you measure it? What can you do with that? Instead, what you should do is you should practice for 100 minutes a day for 100 days, and it's the rule of 100. It's unreasonable that you would not be way better at guitar if you did that, because what's that, like 1,000 minutes? No, 100,000 minutes. Like, that's a lot of minutes. It works with everything. Business, like you should do 100 reach outs a day for 100 days. Like, your business will change overnight.
So just stack wins.
Yeah.
Or stack work.
And also, it's changed the metric on which you're judging success or failure. The success or failure isn't how many sales you get or how much better you get a guitar in that day. It's, did you do the 100 minutes?
So
did you do the 100?
Outcome based, it's process based.
Yeah. It's finding it's like with YouTube, it would be, can we upload a video a day? Can we upload a long form and a short per day? If we hit that, how it performed isn't the relevant factor at this point. It's you're tracking the consistency and proof that you can have that level of output.
Yeah. You've said it, and I think Chris Williamson said it, and I think Diary of a CEO have also said it, all of different sort of verbatims, but it's you're an overnight 5-year success. It took 5 years to be an overnight success. It's just showing up day after day and doing the change. But as well, other ways you can help is sort of micro action implementation. I know Jordan Peterson touches on this as well, which is pick almost the lowest barrier to entry you can and do that. If you are someone that simply just needs to find the motivation to clean their room, start with that. Just clean your room one day.
Start with just taking the glasses off your bedside table.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah, like really break it down. Really make it so you can stack wins on top of each other. But also, what's the smallest possible action you could take within the next 10 minutes? What can you do in that moment, just as a short burst of motivation, short burst of inspiration to do it? Now, you've said it before, if you kind of sit there without any stimulation, you sit, put your phone away, after 10 minutes, you'll be bored and you'll likely be doing the thing you should have done. So sometimes removing that outside stimulus, we live in a world full of distractions. Sometimes removing them and sitting for 10 minutes, no stimulation, you'll probably likely do something to fill your time and it'll likely be positive.
Yeah. Use the 4 short rule.
What's that?
It's the 4 short rule. I think it's something I came up with. I don't know. But it's good. I think you implemented it for a while as well.
Patent pending.
Which is where if you find yourself watching any sort of portrait content, you're only allowed to watch 4 in a row before you have to close that feed and open up a new feed, and then you can do your next 4 shorts or TikToks or Reels or whatever it is. That instantly snaps you out of the just endlessly scrolling, searching for dopamine, because that's what you're doing, whether you like it or not. And you think, no, I'm just finding content that I enjoy. That's the dopamine. Because you don't, like, name the last 5 people you watched on shorts. Exactly.
But doesn't the dopamine come from the actual swipe as opposed to the watching the video?
I think it comes from both.
Okay.
I think because it gives you a small piece of satisfaction. Like, if it's a well-made short, there'll be some sort of storyline in it with a payoff at the end. And that payoff is dopamine, as well as the swipe itself.
Yeah.
But obviously, the flashing light is going to be dopamine as well. It's more engaging than just room.
Well, it plays on the casino as well. You know, you're pulling the lever and the hopes that you're going to get something. And I think they've done studies where the actual lever pull actually produces more happiness and dopamine than the winning or the outcome. It's the chance, it's the opportunity that's going to be better. That's what we hope for.
In business as well, I'm convinced this is the same. It's far more satisfying to actually be making the podcast and editing the podcast than it is for us to hit 500 subs or 1,000 subs.
I think you might be right.
It's far like that. That is the same as the lever pull and the jackpot machine. You know, you aren't really searching for results. You're searching for the hope of the result.
The love of the process. Yeah. Sometimes, well, I have no doubt. You've said it, and you've said because you've got an account that's nearly 500,000 subscribers, nearly half a million.
436,000.
You're nearly there.
Hasn't really grown for like last.
But you know the point I'm making.
Sad.
Like, you said when you got to 100,000, it was just like, okay, it hasn't changed. And I was like, it used to take me ages to understand that. And I'm like, why? But now I do get it. You've got to find the love of the work, the outcome, the success. Sure, it's great, but it's not the fueling. You know, you're not going to be a better person because you've got 100,000 subscribers. You're not going to be a better person because you've got 1 million subscribers. You are still the person you are, and you've just got to love the work that comes into getting the outcome. If you're striving always for the outcome, the work will always inherently feel meaningless.
It's actually one of the best and worst days of my life hitting 100k. I might have mentioned it before, I can't remember, but you have all these presumptions about what somebody who has 100,000 subs would be like. Like, they'd be earning this amount of money, they'd have this personality type, they'd have this much free time, they'd have this many team members to help them make the videos. As soon as you get there and you're all on your own and you're not making that much money and you're still stressed because you haven't got tomorrow's video done, even though you feel like you should have this celebration because you've just passed, like, it's horrible because it's not everything you live. And then it's like, okay, well, the next milestone, 200,000, I'll be doubly as big as this, I'll be making twice as much, and I'll be nope.
Breaks the fourth wall, doesn't it? All these expectations you think, and in reality, when you break those outside validations down, you realize you are still the same person with the same thoughts, feelings, neuroses that you had with one subscriber. Yeah. Obviously, if you've done self-development, you are slightly going to grow as a person. You're not going to be unique. Completely the same copy, but you are going to be near enough the same person.
A horrible thing, though, is I still have these predeterminations about what a channel with 1 million subs has, and I'm chasing that now because maybe that's where the golden goose is.
But that's because you love the work, and I know we've had enough discussions about this day after day, but you love the work, you love showing up, you love doing the unsexy stuff when it comes to business.
All the stuff, I just love feeling better than other people, and I know people aren't making a video a day in my life. I do worry though that the people I've surrounded myself with, they've all surrounded yourself with 5 people. I think I said in the previous podcast, I've sort of lost track of that. I'm not trying to surround myself with everyone I can now because I feel like I can make a lot of things happen for myself. But I also feel like I wasn't able to get from 10 grand a month to 100 grand a month because I didn't search out the people who are making 100 grand a month.
I think it'd be really interesting to see, because it feels like in one season, you're in a season of life now where you are very focused on yourself, but I think unfortunately for you, you are working on a business with someone that inherently likes to be a little bit more social, and obviously we're planning on going to Bali at the end of my backpacking trip. You're going to come out with your girlfriend and meet me there.
Very excited.
Bali is a hub for online workers, social networkers, influencers, that you might find a tribe of people that you're like, oh damn, these are cool people, and not just there's always going to be different types of people that you may or may not connect with in different places, but you might find other headstrong people that are just like, yeah, like, I'm here to work, I'm here to do my thing. And you might find that actually broadening your horizons, meeting new people might help.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'll just keep listening to Alex Hormozy, books, podcasts, everything he's ever touched. Listening to his wife, listening to whoever else there is. Chris Williamson, Stephen Bartlett.
Nice.
Yeah. It's just about you.
Let's go.
Every aspect of my life is covered.
Yeah, I'm definitely on par with all those people you mentioned.
In terms of self-development, you're far more ahead than like everyone else I know.
Appreciate it.
You know the process.
Yeah, true.
You know, you've done some work, you've seen tangible improvements. It's like, it's important in all of this craziness of YouTube and business and making loads of money that you, like, all of those people will say it's very easy to neglect yourself during that process. So it's nice to have at least one of the 5 helping bring that up as well.
Well, this is what these podcasts are for, aren't they?
That's it. It's my counselling sessions.
Yeah. So we've just talked about how we use learning as a shield to avoid real change. But what happens when we finally do change and we realise the dreams we've spent years building no longer fit the person we've become? Is that a failure or the ultimate sign of success?
I think that all depends on the individual's outlook.
What metrics they've used to define success or failures.
I'd be curious to hear yours first, because I know what I want to say here, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So what happens when we finally do change and we realise the dreams we've spent years building no longer fit the person we've become? It's I think that must be a really hard reality to come to terms with. However, I would likely think it would be a sign of success because you're getting more in tune with who you are as a person and what authenticity means for you. I have no doubt it would be life-changing, and if you have worked your entire life to be whatever it might be, whether you've worked your life for a degree and you're living in a job and you thought you found fulfillment in it, and you go through all this personal development and realize the person you want to become or have now become doesn't, that's going to shock your life a little bit. But I would see it as a sign of success, because chasing authenticity, in my mind, is always the North Star. You know, I would rather feel as complete as a person as I can and not have as many out external validations or businesses or money, but I feel resolved in who I am as a person and the life I've chosen to live, rather than have all those outside success and status symbols but feel broken.
Yeah.
So you've heard mine.
I
disagree.
No, I agree. Obviously, I worked for years to become an accountant, and when that door was closed, it's sort of a double-edged sword, because at one side you're like, yeah, I can now cut into life with just doing what I want to do, and the other side is, have I just wasted 4 years of my life? And there's doubt that comes in. It's sort of bittersweet. You want to optimize your life as much as possible. You want to be always working towards the same end goal, because that's how you achieve it. And then as soon as that's taken away, it's like, okay, I've got to make up 4 years now in something else just to be at the same level, and then I can start. So you're instantly starting at a 4 year loss. So it's challenging, definitely challenging. I think it will all depend on your outlook and your mindset at the time. Like, if I still really wanted to be an accountant at the time that they said you're not going to be an accountant anymore, then I probably would have been very upset about that, because obviously it's like if somebody was to say to me now, YouTube's closed. It's like, what?
So my question for you personally is, did outgrowing that old dream that you had of becoming an accountant hurt more than if you would have failed at becoming an accountant?
No, probably hurt the same.
Comparable.
Yeah, because and maybe it's slightly different for me, because my pure motivation for being an accountant was so that I could buy up properties. So the accountancy was just the vehicle. It wasn't actually the dream.
Interesting.
It would be like if there was a new law passed where you could no longer buy properties, or every property was going to be government owned and you had to rent. It's like that was my only chance to get ahead.
Interesting. So I suppose the question of realizing the dreams you spent building no longer fit the person is, has the person you've become now got new metrics or new values in which you navigate life?
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest keys to unlocking my happiness. It's like unless I'm doing something that I'm fulfilled by, it doesn't get a shot anymore. It's like I only do things that actively excite me, which is probably not a great thing. Like you should do some hard work at some point, but I love all the work I do, and therefore it's not challenging, which means I can do an awful lot more of it, which means I can outcompete so many people, and that in itself is motivation. So it's like, oh, I'm already outcompeting all these people. They're all dead to me now, so who else can I chase?
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical just based on you, because it'll be curious to see your insight into this, and then we'll go on to the prompt, which is, say you went through a self-development journey, whether that's therapy, whether that's ayahuasca or a mushroom trip, or some other form of self-development you wanted to explore, and you came out of it feeling more authentically yourself than you ever have been, and this person does not find any value or does not align their values with money or property or external validation of success.
God, that sounds amazing. Sounds so peaceful.
So how do you think that would change your life? Would you become a new person in how you navigate?
Yeah, absolutely.
What sort of impact would that have for you?
Well, so the difficult thing with money, of course, is that you need money to live.
Yeah.
And for me to no longer care about money seems very counterproductive, because it's the thing that can buy you all the best things. You know, you can have a nicer house to raise kids and give kids better schooling, and you can give them better experience. Like, it's just...
But you're already communicating with these current values, so what if those values changed?
Yeah, so if the values were more, you've got to... I don't know, what would be some... I don't know any other values.
Money becomes less important than, say, social connections, family, friends.
Yeah, so I'd probably just get a part-time job. Or like do something like just do gigs, because I know I can make a
find your life to have changed. You'd almost be grateful that you found more authenticity in life.
Yeah, the pressure wouldn't be to try and out-earn the previous year. The pressure would be, can I just make enough to pay my bare minimum bills and therefore spend time and build stronger connections with the people that are in my life?
Nice. So the reason I asked that is the second prompt we've been given is, outgrowing old dreams can hurt more than failing them. So failure allows grief. Outgrowing requires honesty. So I think the reason people might find that outgrowing hurts more is because it's probably a grounding reality that you have stopped a dream from happening. Whether that dream is your most current up-to-date dream, or whether that is something you used to hold safe.
So this is outgrowing the want of achieving the dream, not you've achieved the dream and then are looking for something else.
I think it might be both. So outgrowing old dreams can hurt more than failing them. So if, say, my old dream was to become an astronaut, but then I go through all this change and this self-development and this personal journey, and I come out on the other side and I'm like, wow, I really don't want that. And it's not because I've tried and failed. It's because I've got to a point in my life where I go, I no longer hold that to the same esteem, to the same regard. They're saying that can hurt more. Not always, but can hurt more, because, again, outgrowing requires honesty. And honesty requires vulnerability. It requires the ability to look inwards and reassess how you've been living your life and if that needs to change. So why does outgrowing dreams hurt? I think that's a great place to start. And the first thing is just expanding on what I was saying, which is an identity shift. Yeah. So going through the self-development, you may have built your entire identity around a specific goal or outcome or aspiration. When you no longer have that, when that dream no longer aligns with who you are, it creates an identity crisis. So that's why I think my first thoughts when it comes to outgrowing dreams can, quote unquote, hurt, is because it just creates this disparity between who you are now and where you were. And ultimately your compass of trying to navigate life. And it creates this, like I said, this disparity, this gap. And it also then invites grieving the past life, which is also going to be hurtful, because you're going to have this newfound insight, this newfound ability to navigate, but you're going to be grieving who you were and who you navigated, you know? So the process involves grieving the person that held that dream. It can feel like a tiny funeral for that person, which you might miss. You might even miss its flaws because it was familiar. Yeah. So those are my first thoughts when it comes to outgrowing dreams. Is just the whole identity crisis, the identity shift that's going to come with it. Yeah. What do you so I've got one I think might be interesting. It's something you've spoken about a lot. It's the only reason I've got it in my head, and I probably wouldn't have thought about this if it wasn't for you, is the sunk cost trap.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so whenever you do a lot of something, you've spent a lot of time, you've spent potentially money, you've spent energy on a goal. So then to step away from that is like you've spent all of this time and energy and resources in one area, and you're stepping away. You have sunk cost into that, and you're about to start from scratch on something else. It's like that takes a lot of motivation, drive, self-acceptance to be able to go, okay, that wasn't a waste. That was me paying my dues in one area, and I can take whatever experiences I can from that forward. But now I need to move on to something else.
Do you think people fear getting stuck in the path they no longer want, or do you think people choose to stay in the path they no longer want because of that sunk cost?
People definitely choose to stay because of the sunk cost. I don't know if people... What was the first one you said?
Fear it.
I don't think people fear it, because usually if you're stuck on a path, it's just happened. It's not been a deliberate decision. I think it's when you've probably been on autopilot at your job for 5 years and you realize, hang on a second, one day you just have a revelation. I've been doing the same thing in the same role, no promotions, no pay rises for the last 5 years. I remember when I was 18, I wanted way more than this. What now? That I don't think anyone ever thinks like, well, maybe they do, but they never give it much credit, because it's like, that would just never happen. I'd never be in the same job role for 5 years just working on the same thing over and over and over. Like, that just wouldn't happen. And then it happens, and you're like, oh my God.
You think it would never be me.
Yeah.
You know, you always think those things happen to other people. I won't abandon my sense of self or who I want to be or what I want to become or achieve. And then life happens, and quote unquote grown up choices happen, and yeah, you're stuck in a cycle.
I think the other thing is obviously life's obligations. So if it is a job that you're stuck in, it's like you've not only got the sunk cost, you've got the potential cost of everything you would have been able to make but aren't. So therefore you still got to pay your bills. So it's like, to actually leave something, you haven't just got to leave, you've got to have enough in the bank to be able to actually sustain you while you do this process of self-development or doing nothing, or whatever we want to call it, just so you can figure out actually what it is you should be doing. And people are like, oh, just figure it out while you're working there. It's like, you don't have the headspace. You need a physical break from it.
I admire people that can work it out while they are in a current role, or maybe it's the monotony of the current role. Their inspiration side of their brain is fully available to work on whatever they might want to do. But yeah, it is very hard, like you say, when you are spending a vast majority of your time someplace you may not want to be, trying to then use the time that you have towards self-development, working on a business, whatever it might be. That requires a significant amount of discipline, self-respect, and investment to be able to make that happen. But yeah, the sunk cost trap, everything you've always said is so true. So it's so painful to walk away from something you've sacrificed for and worked hard towards, and then fearing that all that effort was a waste as well. So it's like, maybe it's just safer to stay where I'm at.
Yeah. And then throw on top of that the expectations of people around you. It's like, it's not just your monthly actual costs. It's the costs of like the people around you. Are they gonna still like you if you're not in that role? Are you still gonna be the same role model to your kids if you're no longer working 9 to 5? Are you still gonna be, you know, be able to provide the same level of life for your other half? Are you gonna be able to, you know, have the freedom to go to family gatherings, and then what you're going to say at those family gatherings? Somebody asks what you do or what you're up to these days. Like, oh, well, I've just left my job and I'm looking forward to doing this. And everyone's like, oh, so you're not actually doing anything. It's like when somebody's like, I'm in between jobs right now. It's like, okay, so you do nothing then.
Yeah, it's that external validation, isn't it? That's such a huge barrier to sort of happiness as well. Like, people often worry about being seen as flaky, you know, or ungrateful. No, I don't care about that. I would rather be seen, people perceive me to be flaky and me live as authentic as I can, rather than worrying about what people's expectations are of me.
Yeah.
Ironically, people's expectations of me now are that I have lots of change in my life.
Everyone's pleasantly surprised when you show up.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like, whoa!
Kind of made it. Yeah, it's great.
You are the equivalent of a short scrolling system.
I'd like to say I'm like an outside cat.
An outside cat.
Yeah, just come and go as I like.
Yeah.
Just kind of arrive.
Eat other people's food.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Kill birds.
No. Yeah. So how can people move from fearing growth or fearing outgrowing dreams or living in this cycle of having outgrowing dreams be painful to embracing growth?
I've got all the answers.
Cool. I'll shut up.
For different stages of life.
Hot damn.
You are
Incorrect.
a teenager, just finished school, in college maybe, living at your parents'. Anyone that's living at their parents', right? Your fundamental financial obligations are zero, whether you like it or not. Maybe you run a car, so it's maybe, what, 300 quid a month, tops? And if you were to quit your job, zero. You need to have £1,000 or $1,000 saved in the bank to be able to quit. That's the only thing that I would let you stop quitting. Mm-hmm. If you've been in the same job for 10 years, 15 years, still live at your parents', then £1,000 in the bank, quit. And you don't have to have anything to do. If you know you're not happy in that route, staying in that while you decide is not going to help you decide. You've had years to think about what you're doing. Quit, have the money in the bank, and that is what you spend on driving. Okay, and maybe food for a little bit. But that, if you're living at parents and you've got no financial obligations, like, you know, that will cover you. Then you focus actively on doing nothing. What do you fill your time with? What do you enjoy? Find a way to monetize that. And we can go into deep conversation. I'm sure one day we'll do a Will tells you how to make money properly. But that's how you do that, because then you're on the right path, and whatever you're doing for fun. If you can figure out a way to make that pay you, you're going to only ever do what's fun and get paid for it. So that's key. Next is you are renting a place, your obligations are such and such, then you need 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, quit. Because you've got all your obligations covered for the next 6 months. Worst case, you can go and get a part-time job at Sainsbury's, cover all your obligations, right? If your obligations are so high, like if you're on 250 grand a year, like we're talking the high ends now, 250 grand a year, and your monthly expenses are like 10 to 15 grand, then once again, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses should cover you. But also think about reducing your quality of life. Not reducing your quality of life, but like maybe don't spend 5 grand on a holiday, spend 1 grand on a holiday if that's part of your monthly outgoings. You know, you go on holiday every month, or you go for a weekend away. Instead of the weekend away costing you 5 grand, spend 1 grand, okay? Because there's different levels to it. Once you've got all that money, then you can actively do nothing. Like literally sit, and you'll get bored, and that is what you want. You want to get bored, because then it's like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then once you figure out what you fill your time, is it going to the local tennis club lots? Is it playing guitar? Is it going to the beach a lot and you're interested in surfing? Is it, I don't know, meditation? Then find a career through there that is actually going to pay you. That is how you go from your job, somewhere that you feel is dead end with loads of sunk cost, feel comfortable enough to leave and find the new path and then earn money from it. That is me promoting the dream.
Nice.
So now buy my course on... I don't have a course.
There's what I heard there is evolution, not failure. So accepting where you're at. So there's a huge part to be said about acceptance, looking objectively at the scenario you find yourself in, understanding what you can do and what you can't do, what needs to change, and then accepting that none of this is failure, it's evolution. It's not staying where you are, it's evolving. And rather than viewing anything as a loss or a failure or you've not achieved what you should have done, you're now evolving into the next level of what you can be. So outgrowing a dream is a sign of evolution, that you're leveling up rather than you're holding yourself back. You're aligning with your truest self. That's almost what I heard.
Yep.
If I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, that's it. Bang on. And it sounds easy, right?
Yeah, this is it. But accepting or embracing the growth is a brave act. You know, it is. It takes strength and courage to admit that a dream no longer fits and to choose a different path, even if it means walking by yourself for a while, because people will have both outside and inside, but outside external, people are going to have assigned you to this one bracket. So changing that's going to be difficult because it's brave, because it's going to question what people thought about you, going to break the mold for them. And internally, it's brave because it requires stepping out into the unknown. But accepting it's a brave act and you're not going to have all the answers is fine. It's great. Do it. Embrace that you're not going to have all the answers, and that's okay. I mean, who in their right mind thinks they should always have the right answers for absolutely everything?
Not somebody who's open to actually knowing everything.
Exactly. Agreed. 100%. Yeah. And exactly what you said there is where my mind went. So embracing the growth is making room for new. So rather than viewing outgrowing old dreams as a negative, letting go of those old dreams creates new fertile ground for new aspirations that reflect you better as a person.
Absolutely.
If you're growing as a person, you're growing off this way, but your dreams used to be that way, how are these ever going to coexist? So you can love and give peace and space to this dream and accept that you're letting it go with love. Rather than being angry about it or resenting it, you just let it go.
Yeah.
And then you accept that this goal is now going to become over here. And that is more aligned with who you are as a person. And I wonder which one's going to bring you more fulfillment.
Anyone's guess, isn't it, really?
Yeah. God, crazy, honestly. But yeah. And then, embracing the growth is honouring the new journey. It's, again, similar to what you've been saying. By choosing a new direction, you're not betraying your past self. You're just honouring the growth that they've made possible. You know, you're still the same person. It's just without that difficult time, whether it is 15 years in the same role, that person will have made the growth possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than getting down on yourself that you've been in the same situation for a year, 10 years, however long it might be. Growth will happen if you accept it and honour it, rather than belittling yourself, objectifying yourself, the person that used to create that life. Because it wouldn't be possible without that person.
Yeah.
So outgrowing old dreams can hurt more than failing them. Ultimately, the process allows you to live a life that reflects who you have become, not just who you used to be, which is going to lead to greater alignment, depth, and peace. Yeah. So letting go of an old dream that once gave your life meaning is going to force you to ask harder questions about who you are now. I suppose that's one of the hardest things we always live. Well, hardest realities of life is knowing who you are now. Because again, we've said it before, who you are is always constantly changing, very much if you're living life. Not right, but if you're open to new possibilities, who you are is malleable. You know, we're humans, we're animals, we're very much adaptable to the environments. You know, if you put yourself in a new country, immediately that's going to feel uncomfortable. 6 months, you're going to be a bit more confident.
Yeah.
A year, 2 years, you're going to be a local.
Literally. It's like when you go for a drive outside your house, like, you don't even consider, like, the drive to be an event. Whereas when you're abroad and you're driving a rental car for the first time in a country on the wrong side of the road, you think about that drive.
Yeah. But eventually, if you were to live there, I'd just get more comfortable. So it's just embracing the change, really. Just nice and easy.
Yeah. You just do it.
Yes. Personal development, mate. Yeah. Do it.
There you go.
Easy. Solved. You're welcome.
This could have been a short, really, this conversation.
Yeah, it should have been, yeah.
Do the thing. Done.
If you've made it this far, soz. So when we let go of those old dreams, our standards change. We often hear that healing makes you more peaceful, but has anyone else found that it actually makes you less tolerant of the noise and the fakeness you used to ignore?
Say that again.
Yeah, so have you found that growing and letting go of old dreams and becoming who you want to be has made you less tolerant or more aware of the fakeness you used to ignore?
Yeah, or I'm more aware of my time, and therefore I don't let people who waste my time.
Expand on that. What do you mean?
So, because I know what my North Star is now, the only things that are worth my time are working towards that. Anything that's outside of that is a waste of my time and my potential. And this is what's so dangerous about the idea of potential, is like, you know, every second you're not working on it, you're not achieving your potential.
Yeah, so it makes you less tolerant of outside influences that doesn't help you align with the person you know you can be. Whereas when you're maybe less aware of who you are, you become less adept at differentiating outside perspective and noise to actually achieving or working towards the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you, Will.
Hey ho.
Outgrowing old dreams can hurt more than failing them. You might have touched on it, and I don't know if you want to expand on it, but what was an old dream that you've either failed or decided to let go?
Well, and from the 1st of January, it's kicked back into action because I do believe in New Year's resolutions.
Incorrect, but okay.
I mean, this is coming out like mid-March or something.
This is it. No, this is, I think this is, still January, this one.
Oh, okay, cool. New Year's resolutions.
You would have failed it by now, so it's fine.
Yeah. But one that I sort of came to terms with in 2025 was that I'm not going to have the body of a Greek god by age 25. I know. I came to that realisation. However, 2026, I plan to sort of, kick back into gear and do at least 4 workouts a week while trying to eat more sensibly. Not like a strict diet, but just make sure that I'm actually eating. Like, I didn't eat this morning. Like, that was probably an error. I'm just going to make sure, like, something, so I don't have a big appetite in the morning, but just eating something, and like maybe a glass of water in the morning would be really good just for my flow state and all that stuff. Absolutely.
Definitely better for you.
And then, just trying to have 3 meals a day, try and get more into a routine of eating and working out and working. Like that's my goal for 2026.
So a dream you once had was having a Greek god by the age of 25?
Yeah, I mean, originally it was 19. I thought you were at your peak fitness at 19. So when we were working out back in 2020, it was like, I was on my road to achieve that, and then I just let a global disease impact it.
Yeah, how dare you.
And then never got back into it. But
so now you're trying to realign with a dream.
Yeah, I suppose. And sort of, I think I'm still young enough to where I can probably mend a lot of the things I've done badly towards my body. And as I get into my 30s, 40s, 50s, I want to have a more solid foundation rather than just be naturally healthy.
I like that. Yeah, so I like that.
Start good habits now, and then it'll be easier to increase the good habits later.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. One thing I do want to share before I share mine. Most people give up on their New Year's resolutions. Studies show around 80% fail by February and only 8 to 9% actually succeeding by the end of the year. Crazy.
But I would argue if 80% give up by January, they've still 1/12 of the year done more towards those goals than they would have if the new year hadn't started.
Yeah, no, I don't think that...
And 20% continue longer than that.
I don't think that having a goal or trying to work towards a goal is a dumb idea. I think waiting for an arbitrary date to do something is dumb.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's just me.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Exactly. There you go. Just wait for January 1st, mate.
Yeah.
And if you miss it...
January 2nd.
It was always next year.
Yeah.
This is it. Yeah, so a dream that I gave up on it's kind of similar to you. I did start working towards the dream, but then decided it wasn't for me, which was being a snowboard instructor. So fully qualified, really enjoyed it, taught out in Japan, season ended, came back, and I've not tried to realign with it. And it definitely hurt, like, outgrowing it, because that's where I feel like I am now. I don't feel like I failed it. I just think I outgrew it because I realized the life that it would have created for me is not the life I would have wanted. You know, wouldn't have kept me in a safe, secure environment. It wouldn't have allowed me to thrive. I've got people that live that life, but they're chasing winters. They're always cold. They're always working on visas. They don't have a permanent base. They're living out of a bag all the time. And I'm like, sure, it's an awesome trade-off to pay to be able to be on the mountain in these beautiful settings and impart wisdom on people, but I realized that that's not for me. And outgrowing that was really difficult, man, because I love these things. I love snowboarding, I love surfing, I love action sports, but I just realized I think I need a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that was really tough. So yeah, outgrowing old dreams can definitely hurt more than failing them. I suppose failing them, it almost implies that you did try. You allowed yourself to embrace it.
I do feel like outgrowing a dream, maybe because you've achieved it and you decide not to pursue it anymore, there's a certain level of closure that comes with that. And maybe there's a certain level of closure that comes with just outgrowing a dream that you haven't achieved as well, if you come to terms with it. But I think, for example, with me with YouTube, the main goal was to hit 100k subs, and I've now got that closure. So I never dreamed I would get 1 million subs. So if I get there, that's great. But the closure is, well, I achieved everything I wanted to achieve on YouTube. So now I could move on to other things or just get a job knowing that I achieved that goal, and I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's really interesting. I'd be curious to see how that plays out. You can read, learn, and reflect and still avoid change. Outgrowing old dreams can hurt more than failing them. That was a real deep insight. Again, we asked AI to prompt us some hardest lessons about growth and personal development. Those were 2. We've still got more to dissect. So that's next episode. Stick around if you've made it this far. If you haven't, that's fine. You will when we're big. I know, yeah, I'm talking to no one. Other than me, I always make it this far. I always re-listen. So hi, Connor. Well, I've got, which one's your favourite, actually?
I like the last one, the outgrowing your dreams.
Yeah, nice. I like you can read, learn, reflect, and still avoid change. I like that one now because I understand what change requires. But a few years back, I would have fought that one. I'm like, no, I'm reading all the books. I can do the change. I can do the thing.
Yeah.
Written down my word. What is it?
Sasquatch.
Absolutely not.
No. Was that close?
Cloud.
Cloud. Yeah, very close.